I'm reading the Bhagavad Gita, 3rd chapter, 14th shloka. Annad bhavanti bhutani.
Annad bhavanti bhutani.
Annad bhavanti bhutani.
Annad bhavanti bhutani.
Parjanyat anna sambhavaha.
Parjanyat anna sambhavaha.
Parjanyat anna sambhavaha.
Parjanyat anna sambhavaha.
Yajnat bhavanti parjanyo.
Yajnat bhavanti parjanyo.
Yajnat bhavanti parjanyo.
Yajnat bhavanti parjanyo.
Yajnaha karma samudbhavaha.
Yajna karma samudbhavaha.
Yajnaha karma samudbhavaha.
Yajna karma samudbhavaha.
Okay, synonyms. I'm reading the synonyms. Annat, from grains. Bhavanti, grow. Bhutani, the material bodies. Parjanyat, from rains. Anna, of food grains. Sambhavaha, production. Yagnat, from the performance of sacrifice. Bhavati, becomes possible. Parjanyaha, rain. Yajnaha, performance of yajna. Karma, prescribed duties. Samudbhavaha, born of. Translation: all living bodies subsist on food grains, which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of yajna or sacrifice, and yajna is born of prescribed duties. That's the translation. Who wants to read the purport?
Okay.
Anand, I think you should read because I can see in this lot of Sanskrit words are there, so I will screw it up. So maybe unless Madhu wants to read.
Madhu, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, no, because a lot of Sanskrit words are there in this.
Okay.
You go ahead.
Yeah. Srila Baladeva Vidyabhushana, a great commentator on the Bhagavad Gita, writes as follows. Ye Indra Dhyan Gatayavastitham Yagyam Sarveshwaram Vishnum Abhyarchya Tat Chesam Ashnanti Tena Tad Deha Yatram Sampadayanti Te Santaha Sarveshwarasya Yajna Purushasya Bhaktaha Sarva Kilbishair Anadikala Vivridair Atmanubhava Pratibandakair Nikilaihi Papair Vimuchyante. It is the Sri Baladeva Vidyabhushana is another great commentator on Bhagavad Gita. So he has written like this. So what does it mean is, the Supreme Lord, who is known as the Yajna Purusha, or the personal beneficiary of all sacrifices, he is the master of all the demigods, who serve him as the different limbs of the body serve the whole. So demigods like Indra, Chandra and Varuna are appointed officers who manage the material affairs, and the Vedas direct sacrifices to satisfy these demigods so that they may be pleased to supply air, light and water sufficiently to produce food grains. When Lord Krishna is worshipped, the demigods, who are different limbs of the Lord, are also automatically worshipped. Therefore, there is no separate need to worship the demigods. For this reason, the devotees of the Lord who are in Krishna consciousness offer food to Krishna and then eat, a process which nourishes the body spiritually. By such action, not only are past sinful reactions in the body vanquished, but the body becomes immunized to all contamination of material nature. When there is an epidemic disease, an antiseptic vaccine protects a person from the attack of such an epidemic. Similarly, food offered to Lord Vishnu and then taken by us makes us sufficiently resistant to material affection, and one who is accustomed to this practice is called a devotee of the Lord. Therefore, a person in Krishna consciousness who eats only food offered to Krishna can counteract all reactions of past material infections, which are impediments to the progress of self realization. On the other hand, one who does not do so continues to increase the volume of sinful action, and this prepares the next body to resemble hogs and dogs, to suffer the resultant reaction of all sins. The material world is full of contaminations, and one who is immunized by accepting prasadam of the Lord, food offered to Vishnu, is saved from the attack, whereas one who does not do so become subjected to contamination. Okay.
Maybe Madhu wants to read the paragraph, and then after Madhu's thing, probably I will start from the beginning and then give my comments totally at one shot.
Yeah, Madhu, please
Okay.
go ahead.
Yeah. Food grains or vegetables are factually eatables. The human being eats different kinds of food, grains, vegetables, fruits, etc. And the animals eat the refuse of the food grains and vegetables, grass, plants, etc. Human beings who are accustomed to eating meat and flesh must also depend on the production of vegetarian in order to eat the animals. Therefore, ultimately, we have to depend on the production of the field and not on the production of big factories. The field production is due to sufficient rain from the sky, and such rains are controlled by demigods like Indra, sun, moon, etc. And they are all servants of the Lord. The Lord can be satisfied by sacrifices. Therefore, one who cannot perform them will find himself in scarcity. That is the law of nature. Yajna, specifically the Sankirtana Yajna prescribed for this age, must therefore be performed to save us at least from scarcity of food supply.
Yeah, so what I would love to do is not just this para, but probably I would love to start from the beginning so that we have a very holistic understanding of this very important shloka. Okay. Shloka is a very important shloka, which is third chapter, 14th verse. This third chapter, 14th verse, where the third chapter is with respect to a particular yoga which is called as the Karma Yoga. It is asking us, Bhagavad Gita has always inspired human beings to take actions. Now, there is another interesting phenomenon which happens in the shlokas. So, every being has got a type of an understanding of a particular shloka. But I'd like to call you all to come to my thinking box, which is a little bit different than what is being presented here in this particular shloka right now. Because we have to understand the not just on the face or the upfront meanings of the shloka. We have to dive deep into the meanings. We have to dive both in terms of the depth and in terms of the horizontal, the width matrix as well. Only then, as a sadhana, we will be able to appreciate the value of the shloka, number one, and we will also understand how to apply it in our daily lives. That is the core which I'm always trying to look in terms of when a shloka is being presented. And this shloka, when I'm looking at it, the third chapter, 14th shloka, offers a very great insight for us. Let us start with the meaning Annad. The meaning given here is from grains, but when we are talking about from grains, what is it that is coming in is ability to bhavanti, grow. From where? Bhutani, material bodies. Parjanyad means from rains, anna of food grains, sambhavaha production, yagnad from the performance of sacrifice, bhavanti becomes possible, parjanyaha rain, yagnaha performance of yagna, karma prescribed duties, samudbhavaha born of. Now let us look each of these words in a different angle. The Sanskrit meaning of annam means anna is not just only food. The definition of food is different. The definition of food is that particular aspect which we have or which we consume that produces life. Number one. The second meaning is annam, annad, that which consumes us when we take it too much. So annam has got a very profound meaning. So annam, when we look at it, is not just for the physical body. Annam is also for the emotional body. Annam is also for the intellectual body. Annam is also for the energy body. Annam is also for the spiritual body. So when we look at annam, the very meaning of it, it is like a pabulum. You can refer to the English dictionary pabulum. It means to say it is a food for thought. So what is the kind of food that we want to offer to each of our being in the physical body, gross body, in the causal body, in the subtle body, and in the causal body, if I'm taking only at the three levels. So the food becomes the key thing. It is not just whether I'm having a roti or I'm having a biryani or I'm having this particular food, whether I'm having this particular curry or food. It is not just that food, the physical food, which we have to be looking at. We have to be looking at what is the food that I am giving to my different bodies, in terms of the physical body, in terms of the subtle body, causal body, and the spiritual body. In the Panchakoshas, what is the food I am giving? If I am giving it a source of, for example, a good literature, it is a very good food for my intellectual abilities. If I'm watching a poem, for example, it is also giving me a food for my manas, for my emotion, but it is taking me in a different direction. It is a food for you. So we have to select a choice. What is the kind of food that I want to feed my bodies? If I'm doing too much of political news, my body is filled with political news. If I'm too much with, for example, my workloads, my body is filled with the food of workloads. If I fill my body, for example, with the spiritual thought processes or with satsang, with like-minded people on those things, my body will be filled with spiritual food. So we have to exercise a choice on what is the food that we want to offer to ourselves in this body. That is a one important takeaway for us from this shloka 3.14. We have to understand this. It is a very, very important psychological technique which will take us to different levels. So the food, what we are offering to this body, it will give us that kind of outputs, whether we like it or we don't like it. I give it a food of stress, I will always be full of stress. So the origin of the food becomes very, very important. Now, how is this food growing? The second thing we have to understand in this is when we put the grains of any kind of a thing, only when it is being watered and the water is coming through the rains in the form of water, when it is flowing on the right earth, which is being properly toiled with the fertilizer and rest of the other things, that particular food grain starts growing. We must understand here, what is this rain? The rain composes of water. And what is the power of this water? The power of this water is two important things. Number one, it indicates the source of life. Of course, at a lower level, it indicates the source of emotion. So only when the source of life in the rain is falling on the food, only then it is germinating. And what is the source of life that is coming? It is coming for us at a lower level in the form of an emotion. So when I give different types of food for my panchendriya, for my panchakosha at different levels, I am hearing it as a food. Somebody is really praising me. It's becoming a food for my ego. It is becoming a food for my emotional liking towards that person when he is talking sweet to me in the form of rain waters. When I am listening the other person talking to me very harsh words, these harsh words are like the harsh foods which is coming into me. And therefore, I at a lower level, when it is raining and pouring with harsh words, I start developing a kind of a hatred towards that particular person when I'm not able to accept it. So we must understand these two things very, very clearly, deeper and wider. The food which we are offering to our body at the level of the physical body, at the level of the emotional body, at the level of our energy body, at the level of our intellectual body, at the level of our spiritual body. And what is the life source in the form of the rain water that is being offered there to make it to grow? We got to be aware of it. So once we are aware of that, the technique which is being offered further is so beautiful. It says that there is a production of it which is happening by the performance of yajna. Yajna, like last time what we have discussed, is with respect to an offering. An offering means I am doing a set of actions or activities with what I am possessing. It could be in the form of a skill set, it could be in the form of a competency, it could be in the form of my day-to-day activity. The moment I am performing a yajna as an activity with this consciousness of the drops of life which I'm offering it, yajna, the moment we are saying activity, it is very clearly being highlighted that every portion of it, every portion of the actions, every portion of the activity is in the form of yajna being offered to the Yajna Purushaha, which is nothing but Lord Parabrahma himself. So in this Purusha state, when we are offering the activities, it clearly says how and what type of activities we got to do, such that the rain water or the water droplets with the source of lower level of emotion to a higher level of life, its ability to produce life. When you take such kind of a food, when you sow such kind of grains, in the subtle, fertile body of our physical body, my emotional body, which is nothing like, it's acting like an earth, a very fertile earth. My physical body is acting like a fertile earth where the grains are being sowed. My emotional body is working like a earth where different types of grains of food are being sown. My intellectual body is acting like a earth where different types of food grains or grains are being sowed. My spiritual body similarly works with different types of grains being sowed when the rains in the form of our activities performed yajna. When I perform an action, my activities are producing rains. Through yajna, there are rains which fall. Only by the performance of activities the rains are falling in the prescribed structure. So under the guidance of a prescribed guru, or the prescribed Vedantic literature, or the prescribed Upanishadic activities, then the rain falls. What does this rain give? It produces life. It produces the right emotions at a lower level, and at a higher level, it is producing life. You will see that life in yourself when you perform the activities based on the prescribed yajna activities as per the process and procedures of yajna. The moment we start performing such kind of an activities, we will see a beautiful life that is growing in our body, that is growing in our being, that is growing to make ourselves equal to the potency of the Supreme Lord Himself. That is the beautiful technique where He's saying Samudbhavaha will be born of, or from where? From our karma. What kind of a karma? Prescribed duties. Who is prescribing these duties? The yajna, the procedural processes step by step. When we do that, there is a rain that is falling. What is this rain that is giving? It is at a lower level giving us the emotional quantum of it, and at a higher level it is producing the life throughout. This becomes possible only through yajna, where the annam of different qualities which we are sowing at our panchakosha, physical body, emotional body, our intellectual body, our spiritual body, and our energy body. Only then it is possible. So this is the technique that is being offered by 3.14 shloka, the third chapter, 14th shloka, which is asking us, which is guiding us how we have to perform an yajna. What kind of seeds do we need to sow such that it will produce such kind of a food for us, through which we will be able to produce the life magnanimous within us. So this is a beautiful technique. If we follow in our life, it will help us. It is true for me. It is true for Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. It is true for Yogananda Paramahamsa. It is true for Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada. It is true for any kind of a human being who follows this particular process. This is my comment on this particular shloka, which is very, very important, giving us a wonderful technique. With this, I close my comments. Thank you. Anything, please go forward. Sandeep, Madhu, or Anand.
Neeru,
Yeah,
I have a question for you.
please.
I would like to know what was the thought process which made you to excellently and beautifully correlate this shloka into the way what you explained. I would like to know from you what was the thought process or what was the idea behind taking into consideration this shloka and adding your comments and explaining it beautiful in a beautiful way. Just I would like to know from you. You can share with us.
I think one thing what I am doing is probably it is the blessings of the Guru, number one. Number two, it's the blessing of the Parabrahma. Because of any shloka, whatever I am sharing with you, I am not reading any other literature either before or after. I am not reading. At this moment, I just pray to Parabrahma, give me the knowledge and wisdom to understand this shloka, to share whatever I'm supposed to share. Then I start. So it flows. I have no prior thought process, no prior reading of the shloka before we start our discussions. It is purely the Urdhva Gurus, all the Gurus, Parampara, who is helping me to understand things in a much better way. I think it is their blessing. It is not mine.
No, I mean, I didn't mean to say it's yours, but we will also know from inside of you, because every individual has, like you said, different, what you call this 5 spiritual body, energy body, exactly whatever you mentioned. Everyone has it, but it, that's you rightly said by you, it needs a lot of Guru's blessing and the Supreme's blessing to come out and share whatever we are talking, or whatever Anand is talking, Sandeep is talking, every one of us talking. Not we are talking. It is who the Supreme is talking from inside of us, every one of us,
That's
good
right.
or bad, whatever it is. He is the one who is talking, and he is the one who is sharing. I do accept it. Anyhow, thank you, Neeru.
Welcome. Sarvam Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. Okay.
So I just want to add to try to answer Madhu's question, okay? Because so Madhu, it is all from our experience, okay? So if you see, you have got the intelligence and the capability to appreciate so wonderfully what Niranjan spoke, right? So that
Yes.
is because of your experience. You I'm really I'm appreciative of you, Madhu, because I didn't know you for last 30 years, right? 30
Yes.
years back, the Madhu which I know, we were all small boys and we had a particular perception of each other. Niranjan would have had a perception of me, I would have had a perception of Sandeep. Each one have a different perception. But now after 30 years of different journeys, what we have performed in our own lives, we have gone through ups and downs, we have gone through various experiences. And even Sandeep is, even though he does not speak much, but I know that he is deeply philosophical and spiritual. That is why he is able to appreciate and at least hear what we are talking. Even to hear other people speak, one needs a lot of
Yes. Yes.
mental maturity. Okay, so because you are always on the learning mode, we are all learners. We are all in the always disciples. So it is purely the divine blessing that each one of us have had our experiences, our share of experiences, that today we have come onto a common platform. And talking about Niranjan, my opinion is he has got a varied kind of experience. He, because I have been knowing him stage by stage, at every stage, we used to talk a lot. We used to discuss certain things. He's a life coach also, for example, on the, you know the life coach, right? There is a particular course, some certification we have to do, and he's got a certified life coach. And in fact, when I was going through some emotional struggle about 3-4 years back, Niranjan coached me for about 6 months. We have gone through different discussions.